So now that we know we're good there, now let's go ahead and start removing the caliper. Okay, first thing we want to do is grab a ratchet. You can grab a 3/8, you can grab a 1/2 inch. Don't need anything too big. We're going to grab a socket and see which socket's going to fit on there. Could be a 14, could be a 17. Hondas and most vehicles now, they like to use metric bolts. So most of the stuff you're going to use is going to be metric. So we're going to try this 14. It's going to be a little too big. So let me check back over here. Yep. We have a 12 millimeter. So I'm going to remove the bolts for the caliper itself. Okay. Now, as I remove these bolts, I'm going to set them to the side. We're going to check several things as we're doing this. We're not just going to take the rotor off and start turning. We want to make sure everything's good. And the first things we want to do when we take the caliper off is take a good look at the brake pads. So sometimes if you have trouble with the brake caliper removing it, you can use a pry bar to move it out. So we'll remove the caliper out. We're going to set it up here. And we're actually going to use a bungee cord here in a second to hold it up there. So we're going to hook our bungee cord up to our strut. Make sure everything is held up. Okay. So now we're going to check our brake pads. I'm actually going to physically remove the brake pads. We're going to use what's called a brake gauge to check and see how much of the pad's left. You want to look at the pad. You have the backing plate of the pad and you have the actual friction material of the pad. We're going to take this right here, and it looks like it's 8 millimeters. We're going to check it. Looks like it's about 8 millimeters. Looks like there's plenty there. So we can move up to 10 just to make sure. 10's too much. You can see that right there. So we know we're good on our pads. Anything that's below about 5 millimeters, once you get into this yellow, that's when you want to start thinking about replacement. Obviously, our lowest point is going to be 2 millimeters, so you want to watch all that.